After a lot of speculations and rumors, AMD has finally announced their RX 9070 series, and this time it looks like that finally AMD didn't miss an opportunity. The GPU series starts from $549 for the non-XT model and $599 for the XT model. And yes, that is making quite a noise around because most people are happy with the price range that these GPUs fall in, but are not happy with the individual GPU pricing. The non-XT model and the XT model has a $50 difference in between them, but the performance difference is more than $50 in between them, which makes the XT model a no-brainer. And that simply means that AMD themselves are undercutting a very good GPU if they just would have priced $20 to $30 less. I'm not saying make it a $499 GPU, make it $420 and it would have been a complete different story. But still, the non-XT model performs really good. Comparing the 9070 with AMD's own 7900 GRE, the 9070 performs 21% better on average while tested on 30 plus games. Now, the game roster consists of both ray-traced games and rasterized games, and the GPU performs really good and shows improvement in both areas. And yes, do not trust blindly on these first-party reviews. Wait for third-party reviews, which will be dropping very soon in 2 to 3 days, but we can expect performance level around the RTX 5070 mark, which yes, I know it hasn't launched yet, but we can expect that the 9070 will perform very similarly to 5070 when it comes to rasterization and very close in ray tracing. And the story stays same if we talk about the 9070 XT. It performs very similar and in some cases beats the RTX 5070 Ti, which I remind you, it is a $750 GPU at its MSRP, but if you want to buy that GPU, you have to spend almost $1,000, which is another story for another day. But at that level, it performs very similar to the 5070 Ti. On average, it is 2% slower in 30 plus games, and if you buy a overclocked model, it is 2% faster. And that is the only slide that I have problem with in the whole presentation. Why showcase a model of GPU which going to cost more than 5%, 5 to 10% and only brings 4% performance improvement? I think accepting that yes, we made a GPU which is close enough to the 5070 Ti, that was good. But there is no doubt that AMD worked hard on RDNA 4. From RDNA 2 to RDNA 3, AMD's rasterization and ray tracing performance has increased similarly. But with RDNA 4, we can expect a big improvement in ray tracing because this time around, finally, there is a separate block to handle ray tracing in the GPU die. Not only in ray tracing, but in other aspects like video encoding, decoding, and creator workflow, they have introduced new features to compete with the green team. They have also added new quality control measures to their GPU drivers, and they also showcased their toy house demo with path tracing and AI denoising, which is going to be similar to NVIDIA's ray reconstruction. And all the games that supported FSR 3.1 will get updated to their new AI-based FSR 4, which looks a proper alternative to DLSS. There is also going to be a new optimized HyperRX mode, which promises a huge performance improvement with the combined help of their software techniques like frame generation and image upscaling. But the question is, can AMD be able to gain market share as they have expected and shared their concern about? And for that, the first thing AMD needs is stocks availability. And unlike NVIDIA, it looks like that they do have quite a lot of stocks available. Not sufficient, let me remind you, but more than NVIDIA, because right now it is very clear that the RTX 50 series launch was just a paper launch. But there are few things we need to keep in mind. The prices that we are seeing for these GPUs are not going to be the average price for these GPUs model, because AMD this time around is not making any reference designs. So all the models that are going to be available on the market are going to be AI by design, and I'm not saying that you cannot find any AI by design at the MSRP, but those model will be very less and rare to find. On an average, expect 10 to 15% performance hike. And then there's the biggest question: can AMD change the consumer mindset? For last few generation, AMD had the price to performance advantage on their side, but for last few generation, that is not enough for a mass market adoption. You need good ray tracing performance. With RDNA 4, AMD does have better ray tracing performance compared to their previous generation, but still they are playing catch up. For streamers, Nvidia was the only option because Nvidia GPUs used to only have the streamer specific features. And with this generation of AMD GPUs, that is also changing. Good driver and software support, which AMD is promising, but there are still some areas that will hold AMD back. For an example, CUDA and creator focused software and optimization, which AMD is improving, but it is still not a good alternative, at least not without some compromises. And more than that, AMD needs Ryzen-like marketing and hype for RDNA 4. I'm not saying that there isn't any hype, but back in 2017, Ryzen had a revolutionary hype, for lack of a better word. Now, I could be wrong here, and I want to be wrong here. I want AMD to be the David and the RX 9070 be the stone that finally puts a dent in Goliath Nvidia. But that's a story that time can only tell. And for that, we have to wait. Until then, you can like this video if you liked it. If you haven't, feel free to leave a dislike if I wasted your time. If I didn't, well, leave a good comment in the comment section. And if you want to watch more videos from us, check out this video right here. And if you want to subscribe, which I appreciate if you do that, well, do it by here. And there's Akash, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.